Everyone, I would like to call to order the Amador County Board of Supervisors meeting on April 10th, 2018, and please there we go. And I need to report out on our closed session items. Item 1A, we gave direction. Item 2A, we had a report. Item 2B, we accepted a report. And item 3, we didn't get to. We'll do that later. So, thank you. Oh, yeah, and we approved the confidential minutes, so thank you. All right, public matters not on the agenda. Discussion items only, no action to be taken. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to staff and/or committee for a report and recommendation for possible action at a subsequent board meeting, and it's a 3-minute time limit. Anybody wish to speak? Yes, please. And please state your name and sign in. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Donna Ogilvie. I live at 5550 Comanche Parkway North in Ione, overlooking Lake Comanche to the west, and to the east, the Buena Vista Peaks or Buttes, out my dining room window.
Wonderful.
I have some things that I'd like to talk to you about this morning, and I'll give you just a little history. My husband and I moved to Amador County, to our ranch, 90 acres, in 1898, no.
Not that long ago.
I'm not getting old, but not that old. In 1989. And we built our own home, and we wanted to live in a peaceful place, Jackson Valley, and that suited us beautifully. We looked for about 3 years before we found our property. We love living there and put a lot of love and time into our place. It's very beautiful, and if any of you want to come and see it, I'd be happy to welcome you. And I just wanted to say that I was very ill for about 3 weeks, and I hadn't been down Coal Mine Road, which is right across the street from my entrance to my driveway. And as I came around the corner, there were approximately 5 large tractors and approximately 30 trees pulled out by their roots, just stacked up on the Buena Vista property because that's for the proposed casino. And I stopped and I pulled over to the Cogin plant across the street. And I'm sorry, but I had to cry. I could not believe that those trees were all just pulled out the way they were. Then a few days later I went by, they were all gone, 50 of them are gone. Century oaks and all types of large pines, gone. The property is totally clean, except for the cottonwood trees that they put around the cultural center, which was built last year. I was absolutely shocked and very discouraged because we have been fighting this since 1999, and I really felt that the county and us had a very good chance that this could be changed to a different place and could be put in a place that was much more appropriate, because that is not an appropriate place. My husband was killed on Coal Mine Road. It is very narrow, it is very windy, and he got pushed off on a big curve, with people drinking on the floor of a casino at 2 o'clock in the morning leaving. I know we're going to have plenty of things happen. But I do have some things besides this to talk to you about the ICA. And I have the number one question. And in reading the ISA, one of the things that they mention a lot in front of each of the mitigation things is excavation considered commencement of construction. And I don't know if you have the answer to that, but that seems to preface all of the mitigations that's going to happen out there. And that's very important to me, because this is going to ruin my life. Right. I can't be blunt enough about it.
So, Greg, can you answer that?
Yes. The work that they've started constitutes commencement of construction.
Okay, then I have some other questions.
Okay, and I don't want to interrupt you, but please be aware you only have 3 minutes.
2 more?
One more.
I only have 2 questions now.
Okay, fine.
I'm almost done.
Go ahead.
Okay, have the Ione Band of Indians that have human remains in unmarked graves, along with the 106 graves on the northeastern ridge that are marked, have they been notified that the tree removal and soil disruption has happened?
I don't know.
3rd question.
Yes.
Has excavation material been inspected for human remains and Indian artifacts before being trucked away? Many, many truckloads of soil have been removed from there.
I do not know.
Well, page 11 in the Exhibition 3 in the ISA for mitigation measures, CUL-26 state, stop work if human remains are discovered. Documents of every inspection must be kept. Has this been done?
Wow. Greg?
That's a question for the tribe. That's a mitigation measure that comes from their tribal EIR.
Tribal chair's original concerns were for the remains of her ancestors, so I would think she would want to be doing that. But it is considered Indian land, so they should be doing that. They don't, I guess, Greg, they don't have to abide by our general plan. We just had Gary Reinell.
According to this, they do.
Let me finish. We just had Gary Reinell address this on a separate project that came to us a couple weeks ago. So
yes.
Does our general plan and the rules in there apply here?
On page 11 in here.
Let's get the answer from.
It's a different situation. That was a new discretionary permit that had to comply with our new general plan. This does not.
As it's Indian land, they don't have any permits. So.
Well, it is in their EIR. That what she read is it's attached. It's an attachment to the ISA. It is a requirement. It was also in their EIR. It's a requirement, but it's not something the county is monitoring.
And it sounds like we don't have authority.
Who would be responsible?
The tribe.
Who is responsible then for monitoring or for finding out if they're doing that? Self-reporting?
I think that the tribe is responsible.
Well, that leaves me with no answers, doesn't it?
We did stop the burning that was going on, unpermitted burning. They were taking the debris off-site to the Goose Hill Quarry area and burning it there and without permits. And our air district got involved, and question to the person on site was, "Are you doing this?" And as he said no, a truck came in with more materials. So.
Well, the ISA states a different thing, so you might want to read it again.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Dr. Oral Custer, psychologist in the Ione area. Yeah, I just wanted to share that I'm part of a community organization, Historic Preston Foundation. It was started a little over a year ago for the purpose of repurposing, looking to various alternatives to repurpose Historic Preston School of Industry. And last week also, I was not here, but I believe at that meeting, the board considered issues in connection with the homeless in Amador County. And it's my feeling that I believe that there's a way that the purposes of our community organization, we call it Historic Preston Restoration Foundation, that there is a nexus between the purposes and the plan that we have as a project, which is very ambitious and long range in terms of for the institution. But I think that there's a connection between that and the purpose for the homeless. And so I would just suggest here that perhaps we could do or we'd like to meet with a committee, Supervisor Forster and Supervisor Axe, if they might be willing to meet with a couple of members of our group and look at a plan that we might have which might bring together these two purposes.
We already
Very
have a
good.
board
And
committee.
we have, we do, and we have Supervisor Axis and Supervisor Crew have formed a steering committee about the homeless. So
Okay.
I would think, I would invite you to meet with the steering committee.
We meet every fourth Thursday at the Health and Human Services Building from 3 until 5. If I could get your contact information later, then I could.
Oh, yes, wonderful. I'd like to do that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frankly, I like Sheriff DeAugustini's idea from El Dorado County, where he got money appropriated by the Board of Supervisors to help the homeless that want to get back to their families, if the family want to accept them, to get them back to their families. That's another alternative I think we should look at.
Well, the steering committee should look at that. Definitely. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Public comments? Oh, yes.
I do have one public comment. Went to the tree mortality meetings in Sacramento yesterday. We have a county's coordinating meeting in the morning, and then the state tree mortality meeting from 1 to 3 in the afternoon. But I was talking to Peter Crace from Cal OES, and he didn't want to make it public there because he didn't want to demean any other counties, but he did make a point that he felt that Amador County staff, specifically Chuck Eiley, our CAO, and Karen Scacinoci, our budget director, and John Hopkins, our GSA director, were probably at the top of the chain as far as doing everything right on the tree mortality issue, and he said our county was the easiest to work with of all the counties. So I think it's a big kudo that you have someone high up in Cal OES saying something like that.
Let's applaud us. Thank you, Chuck.
Well, I would like to take credit, but it is the other folks who've really put that effort together, and appreciation should go to them.
But he's speaking, you're right, a lot of people put it together, but he's speaking about the end product. What arrives to Cal OES, he said it requires no work on their end at all, just a cursory review because everything is right.
Excellent.
We're not letting you off that easy, Chuck, so you're doing a very good job.
Any other board members?
No.
Okay. We will then go to approval of the agenda.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. How about approval of items on the consent agenda? And I think we are going to have at least one request to take an issue off.
Yeah, I had a question about the 6C. Household hazardous waste collection facility grant.
Okay. we will take item 6C off, and we will place it on,
Probably wouldn't take very long.
yeah, okay.
6F, I think someone from the community also, because I will recuse myself.
Oh, okay. And I believe, was there a request to take item 6F off the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda?
Well, there was from a citizen.
Right. Do you want, Gary, why don't you? So we will hear 6C right away.
Yes,
Yes.
I did request 6F be pulled for discussion.
Okay.
Gary Reinell, upcountry resident. And the discussion isn't about the project in itself, but more about, I'm assuming that this is a project that falls under the county road ordinances, which were adopted about 30 years ago, which sets up a county service area for various roads for the maintenance of those roads. And when they're accepted into the county after 1989, that the parcels along that roadway then pay for the maintenance. So that's my understanding of the road ordinances, and it appears that this is one of those roads. So part of it is just a clarification that not all the roads come specifically out of our county road fund, but also can come out of the CSAs, the county service area funds, that are collected from the parcel owners for the maintenance of some specific roads.
Okay, let me take that item 6F off the consent agenda.
Okay.
And I will put it right after item 5B.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so with those two items removed from the consent agenda, I will consider a motion to approve the consent.
Move to approve with those two items off.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
you probably only needed to approve. Supervisor Axe didn't need to recuse himself yet.
No, he didn't for this, I agree. Bring him back.
That may have been my fault, because I thought you were going to that item when Gary Rennell started talking about it.
Okay. Fifth supervisor back. You didn't. You didn't need to leave because we were just considering pulling the agenda, the item off the consent calendar. So, excuse me.
Okay.
All right, let's go to item 5A, and I see some of my fellow Community College Foundation members here. To honor 5 years of positive operation. Whereas, and is somebody, are you all going to come up? That'd be great.
And then, Chair Morgan, why don't you use the mic, please? Thank you.
Whereas the Amador Community College Foundation Board is comprised of 15 government, business, education, and community leaders who donate countless hours to advocating, facilitating, and supporting higher education opportunities in Amador County, with a mission to provide accessible education opportunities in a supportive environment for career success, and the vision to transform lives and communities through higher education and workforce training. And whereas Amador Community College Foundation opened the Amador Learning Center in May 2013 and was rebranded in 2016 to Amador College Connect, and whereas Amador College Connect offers online education courses leading to certificate, degree, or transfer programs in a variety of majors, and/or pathways through collaboration with Coastline Community College, Foothill College, and Allen Hancock College in over 40 accredited programs, and recently began collaboration with Arizona State University online to offer 4-year degree programs in over 100 undergraduate majors. And whereas Amador College Connect also offers free student services, student internships, scholarship programs through local employers and service organizations or government contracts, and a computer lab with high-speed internet access. And whereas the state community college system has a success rate in online course completion of only 35%, yet Amador College Connect has a 65% success rate due to the support services offered, and boasts 12 students who have completed their certificate, transfer, or AA degree programs. And whereas Amador County's Behavioral Health Department worked with the Amador Community College Foundation to create a unique opportunity for those with personal mental health experiences to get a meaningful education and marketable job skills, which won them the 2016 California State Association of Counties Challenge Award. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amador, State of California, does hereby honor and recognize the Amador Community College Foundation for their 5 years of providing higher education opportunities in Amador County. Very good. Thank you.
Paul, can you grab the microphone?
Couldn't even hear myself there. I just would like to thank the Board of Supervisors and Chairman Morgan for doing this, and she's a very valued member of our team. And these are some of the board members right here. They do all the work. I just run the meetings. So we thank you for this honor, and we appreciate it.
Okay. Item 5B. Oh, I'm sorry. Any public comments, questions? Let me just say on a personal note that I really believe that this opportunity for further education for our students will ultimately result in us having a more trained workforce to keep our students here in the county after they graduate from high school with jobs. So, yay.
I want to make one comment.
Yes, please.
You know, this has been going for a long time, and it's an evolution process, but we tried, because we are the only county in the state, I think, without a formal affiliation of a community college. We tried with Cosumnes College and American River. I remember what the dean told us at one point, that we'll start having programs on a trial basis, and if you keep them full, we'll be there. If not, we're gone. So it's gratifying to me now that we have affiliations, and I think when Supervisor Plaz was on the board, the Coastline Community College affiliation started, but now you're looking at 3 others besides that, and the Arizona State University online classes are, to me, are great benefit to students getting a 4-year degree.
I agree, and if you go to YouTube, we've got some taping of some of the students that have been through the program very successfully. It's very gratifying to see. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to 5B, probation every 15 minutes program presentation.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Good morning. Mark Benini, Amador County Probation Chief. I'm here to discuss the Every 15 Minutes program. For quite a while, bringing this program back has been in the works, and we're finally at a point where it was appropriate to come and give the board Basically, nuts and bolts of what it is, because some of you may or may not be familiar with the program, and then ultimately what we've done and where we're at and how we've reached this point. So the Every 15 Minutes program, since I started in 1996 with the county, has been part of what our students at the high school level have all gone through. Every 3-4 years, roughly, the program has been made available. We haven't done the program here since 2012. So we've missed an entire group of high school-aged youth. And what the program aims to do, it's a collaboration between the California Highway Patrol, the Office of Transportation Safety, and then many, many local agencies, volunteers, community-based organizations that come together and actually put this program on. It's a 2-day program. This year it's running May 21st and 22nd, and every high school-aged youth here is going to go through this program. Essentially, on day one, the day starts out on May 21st, Monday at Amador High School. There's going to be a mock crash scene, and all of the kids at the high schools are all either being bussed over or brought out to the football field where the crash scene actually is. The scene itself is treated like a real scene from all of the law enforcement and fire and ambulance personnel, all the first responders that will be there. They deal with the scene itself. The kids witness all of this, but the whole time that this is going on, there is a grim reaper or two mulling about the audience and pulling kids out of the audience every 15 minutes to represent the dead, essentially. Because in the United States, every 15 minutes, there's someone that dies of an alcohol or drug-related accident, someone being under the influence. So as the crash scene takes place, the Grim Reaper pulls those individuals out, brings them down. They don't have contact from that point going forward. Friends, family. One of the biggest issues, as you might imagine, is our participants in the program have to give up their cell phones, which is quite a feat.
Oh, no.
It's a Herculean feat for kids these days. So, but it's really to give an idea of that person's gone; they're no longer in your life, and to make them understand that their decisions have impact down the road, not just based upon themselves. So the crash scene ends. We're very fortunate here to have CHP is bringing in their helicopter. They're going to life flight an individual over to the hospital. Even the hospital is gracious enough to allow us a room to process one of those patients that's coming their way. Again, it's all mock accident, mock patients, but nonetheless, we need it to be essentially feel like the real thing. Once the mock scene is over, students go back to their classes, and then every 15 minutes throughout the day, the Grim Reaper shows up and pulls one of those kids out of their classes. Eventually, the end of the day comes, those kids are all brought out, the dead are all brought out to the Jackson Rancheria Hotel. They've been gracious enough to allow us to use their facility to actually have the events that take place there. There's counseling that goes on. Parents are also involved. They come out there and there's a parent retreat to discuss and deal with the issues that they may be having as their child is going through this mock exercise. There's some team building that goes on, and ultimately the kids stay there for the night. Again, stressing that they've essentially been removed from their friends' and families' lives. There they also work on their obituary, which, as you can imagine, is very tough. But ultimately, they spend the night. The next morning, they have breakfast, and they're brought to Argonaut High School this time. And at Argonaut High School, they are essentially having an assembly. They have a mock trial, and then a mock funeral as well. There's speakers. Here in Amador, in Amador County, we decided to do was break off the freshmen from the general group, but have the freshmen in the multipurpose room in front of the gym at Argonaut High School. What we want to do is they're going to be part of the assembly, but we want to give them a message that even though they're freshmen, they have a voice. They have a voice as to whether or not to get in that car, with mom or dad that's been drinking. They have a voice whether or not to get in that car with a friend that's older than them that has been drinking. So it's a message we want to get to the freshmen, a message of empowerment. Ultimately, when that is all complete, families are reunited, students are reunited, and in the past, we've always kind of broke up at that point. Kids will go back to class, kids are bused back to school, and that's been the end. But what we decided this year was to have a picnic at the end of this. There at Argonaut High School, basically allowing the kids, allowing the volunteers, allowing the staff, allowing the parents that are involved some time to decompress. This is a heavy lift, if you've ever been a part of it. And as a community, we want to have a little bit of an opportunity to celebrate, to mill around, and to have food and relax a little bit before those kids go back to their sites and finish their school day. So what I wanted to do was just come here today, give you a brief outline of what's been going on as far as the program goes itself, and then ultimately the committees that are involved getting this thing put together. We have several committees handling everything from volunteers to the kids themselves at the sites and what kids were handpicked, because we don't want just the president of the school itself. We don't want the quarterback. We don't want the cheerleader. We want a whole mix of kids so that everyone understands the impacts that are involved when you make a bad decision with regard to driving under the influence. So I do want to take a moment to thank the Amador County Unified School District, all of the local law enforcement partners that are involved, fire, CAL FIRE, all of our fire departments, ambulance service, the Ledger Dispatch, all of the volunteers that are taking part in planning, and then the Jackson Band and Miwok Indians for their involvement in this event as well. So it's really a community type event. I hope that you will all maybe get out there at least, if not for the first day for the mock collision, but at least for the second day for the assembly itself, and then ultimately the picnic afterwards. Check it out. The plan is that the picnic is to have some food trucks there, music. I'm trying to get the crash scene vehicles over on site along with all of the different emergency vehicles there for the kids to kind of walk around and talk to personnel and really interact and make this, even though the event itself is somewhat negative, make it a real positive event for everyone involved.
What is the date again? The dates of the 2 days?
It's May 21st and 22nd. And on the 21st, it's first thing in the morning, they're going to get those kids out to the football field at Amador High School and get them seated. Probably roughly around 8:30 or so is when the kids, everyone on site, will hear the 911 call go out, and then people will start coming in. And then day two, it's roughly going to start at the same time at Argonaut High School, though, in the gym. And ultimately should wrap up, the assembly should wrap up about 10:45 with food and the picnic going from 10:45 to 12:15. We've got to get those kids back on buses to get them back to their sites.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's going to be like 9:30 when that's going to happen?
Which one?
The mock collision?
Roughly so. I mean, again, that's just a general time for us to mark as far as the potential for it starting.
Okay, 'cause you said 8:30, 9:30, but your document said 9:30, so I was just wondering.
But I think ultimately, getting all those kids seated, getting them there, they're going to get them there at 8:30, but it's going to take, some time to get them settled and get them in place. Our students are great. Anytime we've done DUI court or we've done these in the past, they're very respectful. They get to their spots, but nonetheless, they're students, so there's a little bit of that coordination that's going to go on.
Great.
I
Go
will
ahead.
say, the other day my daughter came home. Nothing as drastic as what you folks could be putting on, but she was on Latrobe Road yesterday. I guess it was a pretty nasty wreck, and you could tell it really got her attention. All that was left was kind of the driver's seat and a little bit, and
Right.
you could tell what she saw it.
Well, and I can tell you, Supervisor Oneto, this comes at a great time. I mean, it's basically 2 weeks before sober grad, and graduation, is that day of sober grad. So it plays well with both events taking place this year. The plan is to do this every 3 years, so we never miss a group going through the high schools. We feel that we want to do it every 3 years because if there's something that happens where we have to skip it, we're at least going to catch them on that 4-year mark. So we wanted that safety net there. And ultimately what we're looking at is not only getting enough funds for the budget for this current year, but to have seed money for the next time we're going to do this, because we're covering cost of substitutes and things like that happen at the school sites, as well as other incidentals, having some swag there for the kids to take with them as a reminder of the program in and of itself. I did want to mention that the schools are both participating in actually filming the event. So there's going to be an actual video of our Every 15 Minutes program. I invite you, you had mentioned YouTube earlier, I invite you to go on YouTube and put in the search bar Every 15 Minutes, and you'll see many of the programs that have taken place, so you get an idea of the flow and what's going to happen. But our two comprehensive high schools are actually going to put the film together, do editing, and have it out. And they have to have it out the next morning. So Monday, when the crashing's going on and everything else that takes place, the next morning at that assembly, they have to have it done. So it's quite a commitment by them as well.
Really, I think it's a good program because kids get out of high school, hey, we're free, and woohoo!
Right.
And that, and looking at the past history, there's a lot of times there's real problems.
And I can tell you, too, of the 1,900 roughly offenders that I have on supervision, 459 of those are DUI offenders on our caseload. So it's a problem. It is an issue. And up here with our tight roads, windy roads, I mean, it is very impactful. But kids tend not to see the bigger picture, and this is what this is designed to do. When you pluck those kids right from their circle of friends and take away their cell phone and cut off all communication, it makes an impression.
Other board questions? Comments?
Great program.
Great program.
Well, thank you. And in the paperwork that you have, it does have the press release, and I did include the sponsorship levels as well, so you have an idea of what's taking place. So we're very much looking forward to it. The only thing I'm praying for is nice weather, because everything is pretty much going to be outside other than that assembly.
And I assume you would take donations from any source.
Yes, on the second page of the press release, and Nexus Youth and Family Services is spearheading that cause and working with Amador County Community Foundation to handle all of that stuff. So, yes, very much so.
Any public questions, comments? Every 15 minutes program? Guess not. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, so we're now going to take the consent item 6F. So Gary, you're on. I'm sorry, Jared.
Okay, so Jared Ranking with Public Works Department. So item 6F is a request by the department for the board essentially to approve the plans and specifications that we've developed for this segment of road up there in that subdivision, and allow us to advertise the project for formal bids. So a little bit about the project. It's up there in Surrey Junction off of Ridge Road. It's about a little bit over a half-mile stretch of just a 22-foot wide, 2-lane road. We received a request from Supervisor Axe and another property owner to go up and take a look and see if it would be warranted to do some kind of a road maintenance project on the road. There was some reports of cracking and some other issues that seemed to warrant us to go investigate. So Public Works staff went up and took a look, evaluated the pavement sections, and came up with what we thought was a reasonable project to resurface, reinstate some the surface of the road up there. As Gary mentioned previously, this is a subdivision that was the road itself was accepted into the county maintained mileage via county service area. We designated county service area 5, zone of benefit 8. So what you have on the request in terms of recommended or requested actions is the first one. This project wasn't budgeted in fiscal year 17-18, so we're essentially requesting to take funds that are set aside in the CSA account for this subdivision and authorize them for use on this project. So we're requesting $90,000 from Fund 45-800 for project expenditures.
And what's the total of that fund?
So we're doing a little different bid process on this project. Since they have limited funds, we want to make sure we get the best project within the amount that they have. So we have a funding amount established of $75,000, and that would cover, we're breaking the bid into two parts. We're going to be doing a chip seal, and we requested an additive item for some asphalt replacement. So what we're asking the potential bidders is to bid on the chip seal and the striping, the restriping, and also provide us a price to do some, I think there's a handful, like 7 or 8 sections of road where we think replacing some of the asphalt would be a good thing at this point.
Question on that. As far as, you got like basically a spreadsheet on all the balances on these CSAs?
Yes.
In our packet. Looks like about 93,000 for Berry Junction Unit 6. That would be the one we're looking at right now, correct?
That's correct.
And they've got a total balance of about, looks like about almost 94,000.
Yeah.
How much do they bring in per year, roughly? Do you know that number?
Not off the top of my head, I do not.
I guess the only question I'd have is basically spend $90,000, they'd have about $4,000 left over. So if they have a failure, can it be taken out of the whole, out of Fund 45-800? Like, looks like there's some reserves in there, like a general reserve.
I don't believe so. No. I'd have to really dig into the details on that and see if there's any, but I read that the guidelines, and if we do have a reserve, I'm not aware of what circumstances we can dip into that for the CSA. My understanding is that it's only the CSA accounts that we utilize for expenditures in those benefits.
I'd just be kind of curious if you have some type of catastrophic failure on that road, what would, maybe not catastrophic, you got to do some additional repairs, you lose a culvert or whatever, where those funds going to be coming from if we're taking out, if we're only leaving like $3,600, $3,700 in there.
So, what our guidelines say, they're not in the code, but what we have in our files in terms of the administration of the zone of benefits is, I have them right here. I believe it says if you need to, there's a possibility to advance, I think it says up to 85% of year's funds for projects. So we'd really have to look and see how they wrote it up in terms of if we could borrow against future funds. Now I'm requesting $90,000 here. That's to cover. So I think the chip seal itself, which is the main portion of the project, hopefully we get bids around $45,000-$50,000. I think that would be a decent project to put up there. So we have a funding amount of $75,000. So because I'm not sure how the bidding is going to go this spring with all the SB1 money, because there's going to be a lot of work out there, how good our prices are going to be. I'm hoping, like I said, the chip seal is around $50,000, and if we could replace some of those other areas for, say, less than $20,000 or less, then some of that money will go back into the CSA fund.
You think there should be some cushion then, probably?
Yeah. If we're right up against the limit in terms of what we can actually do, then we might have to evaluate what our options are there. So.
Okay, what I'm curious about, Jared, is how you selected this project, because you said it's not on our list of priority roads to repair.
So yeah, myself and the road maintenance staff went up and walked the road, and we just did a visual observation. We saw some
that was just at the request of
Supervisor Axe, and then we talked to one of the property owners up there.
Oh, okay.
So we walked the whole road, we marked it out, we looked at the cracks, we evaluated. So another component of this project, first, before we do the chip seal, is going to be doing crack sealing. So we already had that operation planned through our road maintenance staff for other projects in the area this summer. So they were going to stop up there and do the crack sealing before the contractor got going on the chip seal, at least. So in terms of treatments for roads, chip seal is a very appropriate treatment for a low-volume rural road. So yes, we do think it's going to extend the life of the pavement up there if we can get that done.
I think maybe one thing to make clear, just for people listening in, this is not a project being done necessarily with county dollars. These are dollars that are put in by that particular road association or that special district that go to that particular CSA. It's dollars from those homeowners that are kept by the county for the road.
That's correct.
This was requested to be pulled by a member of the public, right?
One of
I believe it was, yes.
Okay. So we've had a full discussion on it. I'd like to hear the member of the public why
Yes.
he wanted this pulled.
Yes. Thank you, Jared.
Good morning, Gary Reinell, and thank you very much for pulling this for discussion. Because I've been following roads and road work in our county, I hear a lot of comments from people, and a lot of the comments are frustration about the condition of the roads that they travel on as a regular daily event. And I recently came upon the road ordinances. I was looking for something else in county ordinances, but saw this particular road ordinance, and then I shortly after that see one of these projects coming forward, and I have no problem with the project. This was just, I thought it was worthy of having some discussion for the people in the audience here and anybody listening in, so that people understand a little more about the financing on our roads. It is more complicated than I ever thought it was. And for those of you that deal with this on a regular basis, and for Jared, I can't imagine what it's like to have to be delving into this on a constant basis. And I wanted to hopefully minimize the expression of frustration from other members of the public who may have a road that their pavement condition is in worse shape than this particular section. I haven't driven up there lately, so I don't really know what it's like. But, some people may wonder why this road is getting a chip seal when their road isn't being addressed. And so part of this is just to have this discussion, and Jared's covered this quite well, where the funding comes from, why it may be getting some maintenance when other roads aren't, because these funds are from a specific funding source. So most of that's been covered, and I really appreciate having this a more public discussion about the various funding sources that are used on our roadways. So thank you very much, and thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Gary. So if somebody wanted to find out if their road had one of those funds, I assume they could just go to you and say, what about Inspiration West or something?
Yeah, that's correct. They can call me up. They can come in the department anytime, and we'll be able to pull those amounts for them. And it's public information, so
Right.
it's for anybody to review.
So roughly how many roads, obviously they have to be county roads, but how many county roads do we have in that funding structure?
They're going to be more neighborhoods and
Okay.
the CSAs. And another way to check is look at your tax bill, because you're going to be paying for it there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they can always call Public Works.
I think actually we
Gotcha.
could probably, there's a list here, and I could just read them in our packets. Wildwood Subdivision, Gretchen Lane, Jackson Pines Estates, Alpine Drive, Tiger Creek Estates, Ponderosa Ridge Subdivision, Surrey Junction Unit 6, Fairway Pines Unit 1A, Dobb Number 10, Peterson Ranch, Silver Point Subdivision, Pine Grove Bluffs, Amador Central Business Park, Sierra West Business Park, Industry Boulevard, Tower, Amador Ridge, Martell Business Park. That's it.
Okay,
And-
thank you.
And just one more comment. So
Yes.
what the code says for all new county maintained roads in the county, they would have to be included in a CSA moving forward. So That's why you see Industry Boulevard and those in there. So
So any new county road would have to have a CSA?
that's right.
Okay, thank you.
You know, one thing what Mr. Reinell touched on is frustration by the people, and I think there is a lot of that out there. What's interesting too is if you look at the weight fee, like the heavy weight fees that are being diverted, that should be used in road funds and being diverted to general fund. The insurance fees are being diverted from roads to general fund. It's about $5.5 billion a year that this state is diverting out of the roads into general fund, and I think that's worth noting. That's $5.5 billion, a lot of money.
Okay, any other board questions, comments? Any public questions? Okay. Let's go, well, I guess we need approval for that item since it's now on the regular agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'd make a motion that we authorize $90,000 from Fund 45,800
Second.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Brad.
for CSA 5 road maintenance. Also, that we approve the project's plans and specifications, advertise the project as required by law, and that we receive bids on May 15th, 2018 or thereafter.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Also, Supervisor Forrester pointed out to me that our resolution for the Amador Community College Foundation, we never actually asked for approval by the board for that resolution. So I will entertain a motion and a second.
I'll move approval.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to item 5C, General Services Administration, District Attorney Elevator Tower Bid. 8 feet shorter.
Yeah. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. John Hopkins, General Services Director. The reason that this is on your on the board's agenda is because the previous recommendation that I had made was not to exceed. Yes, sir.
No, I have a business relationship with Mr. Dobler, so I'd like to recuse myself.
Oh, okay.
You may do that.
You're welcome. So the reason this was on the agenda is the previous recommendation I made to the board is the alternate bid not to exceed $60,000. This is the second time that these bids have, this project's been out to bid. You can see that alternate bid exceeded that somewhat slightly, but I took a look at certain things, such as it's within that reasonable amount and does not exceed the budget at all. We do need to get the project done. Staffing is short right now, and I don't see in the near future for us to be able to take this project on unless we shifted some of those priorities. And the fact that particular bidder, just as an added benefit, also happens to be a local bidder here within the county. So I took a look at the budget, the conditions, staff resources, and the bids, and making that recommendation to move forward with the board to award to LGM Construction.
Board questions?
Well, you had two recommendations, kind of either accept the current bid or potentially reject it and go out for bid again with
The board could reject them and have staff take on that work, but as I said, after looking at the work we have ahead this summer and in the spring, we need to get.
You don't recommend that one?
I don't recommend that.
That's not really an option.
We need to get the beanie on the baby.
On your latest memo of April 3rd, your recommendations are pretty clear to go with LGM.
Yes.
Public
Okay.
comment, I'm ready for a motion.
Sure. Any public comment on this project?
I would move then to take staff recommendation to award the contract to the District Attorney Elevator Tower Replacement alternate bid to LGM Construction in the amount of $72,428, and to authorize the board chair to sign construction contracts based upon the standard sample agreement and a review by County Council and Director of General Services.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you. right. Oh, yeah, let's get, here he is. All right, item 5D, discussion and possible action regarding approval of an MOU between Amador County and the Jackson Valley Fire Protection District to provide for the utilization of JVFPD stations by CAL FIRE in accordance with the ISA between the county and Buena Vista Rancheria of Miwok Indians.
Good morning, Board. So this, well, as you know, yes. Brian,
What, is there something?
Yes. I talked to Greg about this. I don't know if I have a conflict, but I'm going to have to ask FPPC because things have changed. So if there's a question, I'd like to recuse myself.
Okay.
How are the cookies back there, Brian?
Yeah, we do have cookies in the back. That's really why he's leaving.
I prefer bananas.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes, so as you know, the tribe has begun construction of their casino project on their property, and one of the items of their intergovernmental services agreement is funding for fire service, fire and emergency response service, one of many obligations they have in the ISA. In our initial discussions with CAL FIRE, it became clear that we needed, because there's three parties involved. We have the county with the ISA, with the tribe, CAL FIRE, who's called out in the ISA to provide the service, but that service is provided within the Jackson Valley Fire Protection District and out of their station. So there has to be something that puts all those pieces together so that our agreement with CAL FIRE and CAL FIRE has the right and ability to be in that station and provide those services in the district. Prepared, this seemed as in our discussion seemed the simplest method to get staff in there as quick as possible. So this is what we've prepared. I have shared it with CAL FIRE, and they're okay with it. I've shared it with staff from Jackson Valley Fire, or their consultant, who's made some comments that I've incorporated in this version that CAL FIRE is also okay with. So my understanding is Jackson Valley, the district, will be considering this tomorrow night at their meeting. I don't know if they will have additional changes, and if there are, that will have to come back. But if the board wants to approve it, if it's ultimately approved tomorrow, then it can be finalized by tomorrow. If they want changes, it'll have to come back.
Questions, comments?
I just wanted, for the record, we don't have the proposed agreement in our packet either, so we're not taking any action on it. We're not taking any action on it today.
Yeah, it's not in there. I was just looking at that.
Right.
Okay, I was not aware that it was not in the packet.
Yeah, it's not there.
Then it will come back after Jackson Valley considers it.
Okay,
All right.
so that would be on our May, whatever that is, meeting, our next board meeting. Yes,
Yeah, April 24th.
April 24th, not May.
Bill May, 4121 Jackson Valley Road. Good morning.
Good morning.
They, interestingly enough, despite what the notation in the agenda item might say, Jackson Valley Fire Protection District had major concerns with that MOU. As a matter of fact, they have their attorney looking at it now because of those concerns, and that will be brought back to them at their meeting tomorrow. So this is not something that's just necessarily going to get up and walk away. They have major concerns, and in part they felt that the board was trying to, or at least some members were trying to expedite, push it through without them having the opportunity to do a good review to make sure that Jackson Valley Fire Protection District could approve it. Thank you.
Okay, well, we are putting off this item. We're not voting on it today.
Well, we're not, I'd like Greg to speak on this
Yeah.
too, but we're not trying to expedite anything. I've told Jake Herfel, look, you need to be well protected on this. You need to be in agreement with it. It's your fire station. The county's not trying to usurp any authority from Jackson Valley Fire Protection District. So I want them to vet it out thoroughly.
And that's not staff's goal either. The purpose of trying to hurry is so that staff can get there. If Jackson Valley Fire wants to work through this and take their time, that's up to them.
Well, I can't speak, obviously, for Jake or that board, but there may be, as they talked about in Cool Hand Luke, a bit of a problem of communications. Thank you.
Well, that's why we're talking to him, and that's why I had an hour meeting with Jake last week. Once CAL FIRE moves in, the community has what I would call true 24/7 protection.
You?
I could, just real quick, Rob Withrow from CAL FIRE. So there are a lot of questions that the district has and their personnel has. Like the county, we're not in a huge hurry to certainly force ourselves on anyone. We just want to have a good collaborative relationship with the district and ultimately provide the best level of service we can to the community. To that end, we'll be meeting with their staff tomorrow, their volunteer staff and their paid staff tomorrow late afternoon, to just kind of have a one-on-one, address some of the concerns they have with our proposal to cohabitate in their station. And I think that's going to clear up, hopefully, a lot of those concerns, because that gentleman's correct. There is some misinformation, some miscommunication, which, is to be expected to a certain degree, having this many players in the mix, if you will. So my hopes are that in the coming weeks, we'll get more communication, better communication with the district, their folks, and we can clear up some of those concerns. I just want to let the board know we're aware of that, and we are working to mitigate that with the county.
Rob, in a nutshell, what are the biggest concerns, and how are you going to mitigate those?
So their concerns are, what's their role going to be? I think they're down to one paid person now. Don't quote me on that. I know they're one member is in the military, is on active duty. One member is going to the city of Turlock, I believe. And I think they're down to one paid person. But their concerns are, what is their role going to be with CAL FIRE in their fire station, staffing a medic engine, if you will, an ALS engine company. And that's a very simple thing for us to clear up. Their role is going to be to work with us and help us, and they're included and they're part of that process. They may be wearing a different patch or what have you, because they're fire district employees, not CAL FIRE employees, but certainly they're part of the fire protection system there. We can work cooperatively. We do that all over the place. It's just a matter of, hearing all their specific concerns from those individuals and hopefully them being satisfied with our solutions, if you will.
Thank you.
Bet.
Any other board questions? Public? Yes.
So my understanding is it requires 27 fire people during the summer session to provide the coverage needed. It also requires 3 new fire trucks. Question may well be from the district, I'm not sure, is what happens if that casino gets built and goes belly up? Who's liable? They sure as heck don't want to be. Thank you.
Okay. Still being worked on. We will consider it after it's been approved by the parties.
Well, and I think Bill's concern is a valid concern, and other people in the community. As people know, many of us did not want that casino and have tried to stop it on legal grounds for many years. With the advent of the Welton Casino in Elk Grove, that's a big factor to me. And if this Buena Vista Casino is going to be able to function in the future financially, and who knows? That's anybody got a crystal ball? I don't have one. So.
Our position with the tribe in our discussions is that they will need to ensure that there is funding for an additional year of the fire service at a minimum. So they'll be funding this year, and they'll presumably be funding an additional year, or at least putting that money aside to guarantee the funding for the year if something happened in that second year. So we're trying to, what we have built in with the CAL FIRE contract, I think, is a 12-month termination. So we would need to know and have that funding available.
Public comment?
Good morning, Jill Curran.
Good morning, Jill.
Yeah, just in what you're talking about and Bill bringing up, in Exhibit F on the ISA, it talks about in B, on or before commencement of construction of the project. The vehicles are supposed to be in place and the staffing is supposed to be in place, or the funding for. So I think we're a little behind the 8 ball. I understand Jackson Valley Fire and CAL FIRE have a lot of issues to work out. We've been going to those meetings and listening to the concerns. But again, just bringing forward that the ISA, I don't believe, is in compliance right now.
Well, that was my question, and I got clarification on that.
So as you said, the ISA requires that the funding, that they fund it.
Mm-hmm.
They funded it.
Okay.
We have the access to those funds, but we can't spend them because we're not able to implement everything that needs to be done.
Okay, that makes sense. Is the accounting public record, the monies that the tribe is paying for their fair share for the ISA, is that public record?
Yes.
I would request to see that from the first check that they issued to you. I'd like to, maybe I can get that from Jennifer later. I'd like to keep track of that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Well, we will put that item over to presumably our next board meeting. Okay, let's go to item 5E, waste management, pharmaceutical medication collection bins.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Do we need another board member or no?
We can get him. We've got a quorum, but you know, it's only polite to invite him back.
Never know, he might have to recuse himself on this one.
Maybe
Let's hope not.
Pharmaceutical guy.
There he is. Okay, good morning. Jim McCargue, Air Pollution Control Officer, Director of Solid Waste, and we're talking about the old, expired, unwanted medication collection bins in Amador County. And I'm going to make my comments real brief because I've got some experts here, Dr. Kerr. I also have Tracy Carlton, Project Coordinator for Amador Child Abuse Prevention Council, and then Heidi Sanborn, Executive Director of California Product Stewardship Council. I just wanted to mention that the take-home message is we have our first collection bin placed down at Ione Police Department, and this is for collection for people to bring in during business hours that are old, expired medications, pharmaceuticals that they no longer want or need. And this is something we've been working on for a number of years, so this has been a long time coming. A lot of work has gone into this, and we're really happy about where we are at this point. As far as the need for it, there's really two aspects to this. There's the societal and there's the environmental. Societal is these medications are out there and they get misused and abused, especially children. We all have heard about the opiate crisis across the country. These drugs are a serious problem, and there's a lack of infrastructure out there to collect these, and that's what this is addressing. There's also the environmental aspect. These medications often are being flushed down the toilet, and the wastewater treatment facilities are not equipped to handle these medications. As a result, medications, there's been a lot of literature out there about these medications showing up in the surface water. And there's a lot about hormones and different medications that do end up. So, we've been, as I said, we've been working on this for a number of years. And what we're here to ask of you is an appointment of an ad hoc committee so we can get together and look at the long-term sustainable funding. We have some funding committed to this project, and Tracy will get into that in just a minute. But with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Dr. Kerr for a couple comments, and then we'll do Tracy and then Heidi.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you
morning.
for having us.
Yes.
We are very pleased that we were able to take this grant money, which came from the Rose Foundation. It came from a fine that was levied here in Amador County, and they like to keep those fines local and put that money back into the jurisdiction where it came from, and that paid for the bins. At this point, we have 3 bins scheduled to be sited, 2 in Ione, 1 at the police department, 1 at the pharmacy, and 1 here in Jackson at the Jackson PD. We still have a 4th bin that can go somewhere, but there are very specific requirements for where those bins can be hosted. They have to be in a retail pharmacy location or in a law enforcement facility. So at this point, we have not successfully found another county location, either in Jackson or upcountry, for a bin. We would love to get one, and we're still working on that, and any lobbying that anyone would want to do to help make that happen would be appreciated.
Have you looked at Pinecone Pharmacy in Pine Grove?
We have inquired, and so far have not successfully been able to get an agreement to do that. But and we also looked at the CAL FIRE stations up country, because deputized firefighters can host bins, but it's a very strict requirement of deputized, and the CAL FIRE personnel who are deputized are not deputized for that function, unfortunately. Okay. But as Jim mentioned, both from a public standpoint, public health standpoint of getting unwanted opioids out of households, and also downstream, keeping it out of the groundwater, out of the watershed in general, is very important. And so again, we are pleased to be able to have these bins placed. And at this point, I'll let Heidi and her colleagues discuss the ongoing funding needs for this.
Okay, thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Tracy Carlton, Child Abuse Prevention Council Coordinator. This is a long project that the Child Abuse Prevention Council has been working on for quite a while, many years, to make sure that we keep unused medications away from children. Small children, of course, and then teens as well. So we're excited to partner with everybody here today, and we have, the council has voted to set aside $5,000 to get this project going, to start the conversation about sustainability. We also have money committed from Sutter Amador Hospital. The philanthropy group has committed $3,500. We've received some money from Supervisor Morgan also towards this project, and Heidi will be speaking from the California Product Stewardship Council. They've also committed some money. We anticipate there's 4 bins possible. 3 have been put into location already. So we anticipate it's about $5,000 a year at this point, if it's a monthly collection at each of those locations. Currently, the Ione Police Department will not be utilizing a monthly collection, but using their normal biannual collection from the DEA. So that will be a savings of some funds currently. It depends on how much the bins are used as to the cost per month and how often those bins need to be emptied. let's see. There's an organization that provides the transportation and destruction of all of those. So that's what this cost is going towards. And the council's committed long-term to keeping this project going. So we would like to see a committee formed so we can discuss that for the future.
Great.
Thank you.
So where does it get transported to and destroyed?
It's Assured Waste Services is the name of the company, and unfortunately, I don't know the exact location of their facility.
No. Good morning. I'm Heidi Sanborn, the director of the California Product Stewardship Council, and we work to reduce the cost of waste for local governments. Been around for 10 years now. And Assured Waste Solutions, like all the haulers of medical waste, are required to ship back to a permanent destruction facility. It's usually an incinerator outside of the state of California. We just got our first permitted facility in California in LA just a few months ago. We had lost our last medical waste destruction facility a few years ago. The last one was in Oakland. Yeah.
Why is there so few in California?
Incinerator permitting and emissions controls are extremely hard. There's been a lot of battles, as you know, in California about air quality, and so to get them permitted and approved by neighborhood groups is very, very hard. So mostly we've reduced our number of incinerators in California. We're down to 3. We've got 3 in California, 2 in LA, 1 in Stanislaus, Crow's Landing, and some medicines do go there. In fact, the law enforcement that collects it during the DEA event does send it to those facilities. And they do so, Covanta actually donates the burning in order to provide a community service because law enforcement cannot afford to destroy these on their own. So we're very, very grateful to those facilities for doing that. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, but actually the DEA got an agreement and Covanta offered free destruction. So just, again, we're so grateful to be here and be working with such amazing community partners that have been talking about this for a long time, trying to keep kids safe and keep these drugs out of their hands before they become, unfortunately, addicted. 70% of children who start down the addiction path are getting them from friends and family who leave them unlocked in the homes. So we're now recommending that people lock their medicines up, especially if they're controlled medicines and opioids, count them, and when they're done, to please bring them to one of these facilities for safe destruction. Yeah.
You said 70% are getting them from friends and stuff that leave them unlocked. Now, are you saying unlocked or that may be actually giving them to the children?
That also does happen.
That changes the equation a little bit. You know, I mean, it's an unlocked cabinet that 70% of the kids get hooked in drugs because they open the cabinet and find them, or is it 70% is, you know, people are giving their cousin, nephew, kid, or whatever drugs?
The study that I am referencing, I believe it was that the kids that were addicted were saying 70% of them, they were just grabbing them out of cabinets at grandmother's house or at home. But I could be wrong, and I would be happy to go back and double check that. We do know that the kids get them sometimes and then pass them around at school. They use them as bartering, and they have farming parties, which we've all heard about. In fact, the police chief in Ione, when we sited the bin there, I talked to him when we were installing it, and he said his last day working for the DEA, they had an overdose and a farming party in Nevada County that was 12 kids ended up going to the hospital, if I recall. It's very dangerous. They don't know what they're taking, but they think anything from a doctor is safe. So they just have these parties and they take things. They don't know what they're taking. So we're very, very excited about the partnership to finally get permanent locations for safe disposal here in the county that are free and hopefully more convenient to the public. We were lucky enough to get 2 in Ione, but that's kind of now a target dense area. We'd like to see one up in Sutter Creek and one in the Pine Grove area. We did meet with the pharmacist there. He's interested, but not totally sure if he's ready to host the bin, but we would love to see one there. And we have one left. So we also have talked to Walgreens and have encouraged them to site a bin, one of their bins in the Walgreens in Sutter Creek. We just got a list from Walgreens of the new bins they're putting in California, and that was not one of them. So I'm still going to continue to work on pushing and hopefully getting one from Walgreens. We are doing a lot of PR on this now. We've got KCRA is going to do an interview with us down in next Monday, actually, on camera, that they'll be running some B-roll in their site, viewership area about the new bin in Ione leading up to the DEA event. We've got an article, a print ad in the Dispatch, which we distributed to you, that's promoting the DEA event for the large volume items for people who can't make that, then promoting the permanent bins now in the county. We've also got a radio ad. Let's see, it's a KVGC radio interview we'll be doing on the 27th. And then we're going to be at the DEA event and hopefully promote that quite heavily. So we're really excited about the partnership. Hopefully we can prevent some kids and people from getting medications they really shouldn't be taking and can improve public health in the county. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor
I
Forster.
think it's a great program. Thank you for being here. I think it's a great program. I do have one concern, is the disposal of the drugs. As I understand it, they're bagged up and mailed out to someplace to destroy them. Is that correct, Jim?
They go straight to the incinerator. It all follows the DEA policy.
Some concerns about getting all these drugs and then bagging them up and putting them in the mail.
The
They're
DEA,
actually put in the mail?
they're actually mailed back through UPS, through Common Carrier, and this was actually approved by the federal DEA. We waited for 4 years for those regulations to be finalized. We commented on them twice. It actually surprised us. We thought that maybe they would have a truck do milk runs, and they thought that was actually more dangerous, and that it would require people with guns and all of that. So they've chosen, they're actually being shipped through the mail. They did a lot of investigation before they came out with the final ruling.
So I guess one question I asked Jim is, if that's the case, should people try to redact their information, their name, pharmacy, everything else, before they put the drugs in the bin?
Absolutely. In fact, we encourage people to please not give us your containers. We would like them to take all their names, black them out, take the label off, recycle that pill container, and this is right before they bring it to the bin, because they're in child-safe containers for a reason. But then they can take the pills, put them in a Ziploc, and then just put them in the bin. That way also the bin isn't being filled up with airspace from the containers. We can get a lot more in those bins.
And these bins are not specifically only for controlled substances. Any expired prescription or unused prescription, for example, my son developed an allergy to an antibiotic, so I have half a bottle of antibiotics sitting in the house. Those are going to go in the bin when I'm down there for one of the events. Even over-the-counter medications can be placed in these bins.
And pet medicine.
Other questions by the board?
Just medicines, no needles, syringes, nothing like that.
Yes, no needles or syringes can go in these bins. Those need to continue to be placed in a puncture-proof container and taken to the household hazardous waste.
But there are counties that have bins for sharps, and some hospitals have them too, because that is a whole nother quite large problem with different medical waste products.
Still trying to work on that piece.
Yeah, no grant for that.
Any other board questions? How about public comment? Oh, Jim, I'm sorry, did you want to add something?
Oh, no, I'm just available for questions. One thing I did want to point out is I said, there's two aspects of it, the societal and the environmental.
Right.
And I noticed that we have Paul Molinelli Jr. in the room, and he's with the Amador Water Agency and with ACES Waste Services. So he's also very familiar with not only the waste aspect of this, but also the water impacts of it.
Right. Very good.
Yeah, I think.
Just a man I want to talk to, Jim. It talks about in here that the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board is levied fines on wastewater issues, stuff like that, and we're looking for funding sources. Didn't they hit Jackson with about $1 million fine fairly recently?
Yeah, Jackson wastewater treatment facility was fined. I think it was in the neighborhood of $150,000. I forget exactly what it was, but
I thought it was like $1 million. Maybe it got reduced or something, but
I think there was a negotiated settlement.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the county, we were also did enough. You did the best you could, but when we had those massive rain events, didn't the county receive a fine?
Not a fine, but we did receive a notice of violation for last winter when we had the record-breaking rainfall amounts, and we exceeded some of our, our required freeboard limits on our pond up there at the landfill. So, however, through meetings that I've had with the Regional Water Board, we just recently received an abeyance of the notice of violation. So they're putting it on hold pending further, further meetings with them. So I think that's a positive step. But you're right, we did receive a notice of violation. No fines, though. They have the option to hit us with a cease and abatement with penalties, but they didn't choose that. They chose a notice of violation and then subsequently did an abeyance of it.
I was just wondering, looking for a funding source, and whether it's to negotiate down the 100,000 or whatever with the City of Jackson. Plus, there's probably some other ones that might be a way to fund this if it's going to be done. I mean, I think we got to work on that.
Well, and I'd like to point out these funds that originally paid for this grant and for the bins came from a fine levied against the city of Sutter Creek, I believe, for the Badger Street Bridge project and violations they had there. So the way I looked at it is the local jurisdiction in Amador County is getting hit. We might as well take those funds and put them back into the county for some good. And actually, it would be nice to have a facility in Sutter Creek. We tried to work with Sutter Creek PD. We weren't able to get a bin placed there. But if there's anyone on the board that would like to speak with Sutter Creek, be happy to continue the discussion.
Would be Supervisor Axe.
I'd be happy to give it a try. Also, the Walgreens is also a location that would be pretty suitable as well.
Walgreens has a program, and as Heidi mentioned, they just came out with their list, but they didn't have our Walgreens on it, unfortunately. I think they're going for their 24-hour stores. Is that what they're? Yeah, and since our store is in 24 hours, it didn't make the list. But I agree. I think Walgreens should be the first one to put it in, as well as CVS and,
Right.
So.
Okay. Paul, did you want to make any comments on behalf of the Water Board or ACES?
I'm going to stay for the fair item. Paul Molinelli Jr., Amador Water Agency Director for District 1, and with ACES Waste Services. I think we're thrilled to see this for both hats that I wear. There is no way to remove medications from water treatment that I'm aware of. So all of the people throw the stuff in their garbage and it goes in the landfill, or they throw it out in the backyard. You'll end up with fish on Valium, and maybe they're easier to catch. But in all seriousness, it's a good program, and I'm glad to see it start. And we'll work. Both hats I wear will work with the county to do anything we can to facilitate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one last comment, and that is that there is precedent for ordinances that make the liability for ongoing funding of such programs with the source manufacturers, that is the pharmaceutical companies. It started back in Alameda several years ago, passed muster all the way up to the Supreme Court at this point. And so there are now multiple jurisdictions in the state of California. Some are counties, some are cities. And recently, earlier this year, the state of Washington managed to pass a statewide law making the pharmaceutical manufacturers responsible for the end destruction of these products.
Oh.
We have work to do, and that's why we're asking for this committee, so that we can research how those work, how they're implemented, how they're administrated. And that's really, I think, maybe one of the future goals of this project.
Great, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Curious question. Is there a life of this medication when it gets in the water system? Does it get eaten by little microbes, or what happens there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the problem, Supervisor Oneto, is it's called bioaccumulation. And so a little fish gets eaten by a bigger fish, the concentration increases up and up and up as it moves up the food chain. So no, these chemicals, and that's what they are, stay in the environment, and they actually get bioaccumulated over time. And ultimately, you know, if somebody goes down to the delta and starts catching catfish and eating it, then they're going to have potentially risk of you know, getting some of those.
Yes, I worked with a lot with Clean Water Action on this and read some of the studies. So bioaccumulation is certainly something that happens with some of the drugs, but drugs that are things like hormones, for example, are dramatically affecting fish reproduction. We have, at some of the water treatment outfalls, 80% of the fish are female. They're very, very sensitive to hormone. And when it's in the water and they're literally breathing it through their bodies, they literally change sex. So these are the kinds of things that we're really starting to get concerned about. But, you know, it's one of those things where we can't know what we don't know. But how much longer do we want to risk trying to find out? We don't know.
So these are from oral contraceptives?
Oral contraceptives. And of course, some of it just goes right through the human body as well. It's not all just from flushing of pills. We're just trying to stop the, you know, unadulterated pill that hasn't been processed through our body going straight into the water system when we know we can't get them all out.
Okay. Did you want to? Okay.
Wayne?
And then? Yes, I know.
I was trying real hard not to comment on this, but I heard somebody say Jackson, and I just wanted to have these guys and you guys here that we are in discussions right now with Water Quality Control Board about fines, and they are talking about programs that we can't put into our water system to improve it. We have to do something else. So this would be a good time. As they mentioned, that they propose things to us where the money leaves Amador County and goes somewhere else in the fine. So this would be a great time to reach out to our city manager, Yvonne Kimball, and if there's some project funding or something like that that relates to Jackson for a drop bin or something like that, that this would be a good time to see if we could earmark some of that money.
Okay,
Thank you, Wayne.
Any other public comment? Okay, then I'd like to appoint an ad hoc committee of 2 board members, and frankly, I'd like to be one. So is there anybody else that's...
I'll be the second, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay, so Supervisor Axe and I will be the ad hoc committee.
Excellent, and then I'll follow up, and we can schedule some path forward on this.
That sounds great. I have to make a personal comment. Many, many years ago, my 16-year-old brother killed himself with finding my grandmother's pills, and so it's very personal for me. Yeah. Yes, Jim.
No, that was all I had, and that's great. Yeah, I'm pleased to see that you'll appoint this ad hoc committee.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to do a formal vote on it, or do we need?
I don't think we
No, we
need
don't
to.
need to.
Chair.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
that's why it's fun to be chair. I
Yeah.
have the power to appoint an ad hoc committee.
Yeah. Great.
So-
Thank you all very much.
You bet. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for the good work you do. Okay. I am being asked for a break here. So let's take a 10-minute break, and then we will get to the item that a lot of people are here for, the Amador County Fair. 10 minutes.
Done. That's funny.
For the Fair Foundation. Kind of who, I'm going to win that one. I did. Sorry I came in my ranch clothes, but some days you just gotta get in the car.
Okay. Break is over. Let's go back to our agenda. We are on item 5F, discussion and possible action regarding a request by the Amador County Fair for $10,000 to fund a marketing plan and $30,000 to fund an electrical project.
Good morning, Madam Chair, esteemed board. I'm Troy Bowers. I have the privilege to be the CEO of the #1 small county fair for the past 11 years. We measure our lifetime in fairs, so.
Right.
Thank you for hearing us today. And I think it's important we talk about the history since the very first state fair. Sure.
Just for 1 second. I was in discussions with my county council on this item. The only about my wife being on the fair board, has she ever received compensation? She doesn't receive a salary. She said about 3 years ago she did get her registration paid for the conference, the fair conference, which she rarely goes to. In your opinion, does that make it so that I have to recuse myself?
No, I don't. Oh, how much was it?
It would have been in the neighborhood of $300, $350, something like that.
And 3 years ago? So under the FPPC guidelines, you would not have a financial conflict. There's no proposed contract, so I think you're fine.
As she told me, her involvement in the Amador County Fair costs her money. Join the
Doesn't
club.
matter.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make that clear.
And I could testify to that. We have a 9-member board appointed by the governor of California, and it costs them thousands of dollars a year for the privilege to talk about quilts and pies and all the things that we have to deal with out there. So, okay, so from the very first California State Fair in the 1850s, they wanted to do, it was 4 things, right? They wanted to generate markets, bring people together, make money. It was a very Yankee idea. They wanted to make money. The next thing they wanted to do was to inspire youth to agriculture and careers, right? Prepare the young people. A couple other things they wanted to do was, as a network, provide the best information for issues, veterinary or health, science, all that. And the fourth one just kind of leaves my mind right now. But so I think as we go into our 80th year at the Amador County Fair, we are true to all of those. They called them intents back there, all of the purposes. And there's the business model has always been a certain amount of public funds intermingled with donations and money we generate from the private sector. So in your packets, I provided a economic impact report from 2015 provided by the California Department of Food and Ag. In it, you can see that the Amador County Fair generates in the neighborhood of $1.6 million for the community. It provides the equivalent of 41 full-time jobs for the community. We know that what we do out there on a year-round basis puts heads in beds, okay? You also probably know that in 2011, we were completely, our funding source from the state of California, which amounted to close to 30% of our revenue, was eliminated. We thought that was a little harsh, but there was a $27 billion deficit at the time, so we were going forward. We had in place the Amador County Fair Foundation. Patrick Crew was the inaugural president of that organization. We started that in 2009. We had it in place, and thank gosh we did. Since 2009, the foundation itself has really kept that fairgrounds going, and has been with $35 donations up to $20,000 and more, larger donations for bathrooms, just to keep the facility standing. Our Benny Brown Arena was seriously in danger of falling down. We're 1940s, well, we've been on that property since 1938. A lot of the infrastructure was built in the 50s, 60s, and it's in serious trouble. We need some help. We also have enjoyed a lot of just community support from the Jackson Rancheria. Has probably funded $300,000 worth of projects on the grounds. They've helped us remodel our bathrooms. They've helped us with our Woolen Arena addition, which I think is going to be a real revenue generator for the county. And other projects. The city of Plymouth has contributed $40,000 in their TOT tax money to help with projects on the grounds. So and then there's been other large donations that we've had the privilege to receive. So what we're asking for today is $30,000 to energize the new Simmons Family Pavilion. So this goes to the second intent, to inspire and train people for the future. So that building is needed because our beef program at the fairgrounds is growing and taking a lot of interest. So Chuck, when we got defunded, we had to reorganize. Chuck had the idea, well, let's do replacement heifer program. And a replacement heifer is a young female calf that's been impregnated. And these kids, they take care of them for 15 months. They take them to the fair, and they're sold as a pregnant heifer to local ranchers. And that money goes to them, and mostly to get another project. It goes to pay for their high school education. It has exceeded all of my expectations, especially the support that program has received from our local ranching community. It's been just very significant. So we outgrew our barns. So we needed this new barn. We've been very aggressive, very active with a brick fundraiser program. Thanks for many of you who have provided money for that. That's generated about $130,000. It's gotten us a good start on getting the building up, the pad ready. Our real issue is just the failing, deteriorating electrical on that part of the fairgrounds. It's rough. What's the word I want to use? So that's what we're asking for, is $30,000 to get electricity from a nearby power pole to the building and energize the building. What I'd like to do now is introduce Cyril Toma, and he can talk more about it, and away we go.
Thank you, Troy. Madam Chairman, members of the board, Cyril Toma, President, Amador Fair Foundation. The electrical project we're talking about is to replace an overhead line in the area that we're going to build this new beef barn. We don't want to build a barn, a metal building, underneath an overhead power line. So it necessitates putting it underground. As we're doing that, we're going to upsize some of the facilities, put in an additional vault, and be able to use this to better serve our master electrical plan for the rest of the fairgrounds. And in doing this, we have designed it, redesigned it. It's been quite a chore. Pat knows. Anyhow, we finally have some bids. We're and ready to go. The barn is going to be delivered May 1st, and will be erected probably within the month of May. So we need to get this electrical project in. We've got to get this thing underground, get the overhead wires out of the way.
Question on that: Are you having to deal with PG&E or pay them any money?
We've applied a year ago for a PG&E grant, and we were told that we were on a list, that we were getting close to the top, and then right at the end, they said somebody else got the grant. But so that was...
That's where I was going.
Yeah. That was what happened. And the facilities on the fairgrounds are fair-owned. PG&E supplies the power up to our border, but then all of the facilities on the fairgrounds are fair property. And this project is being funded by the Fair Foundation and through some very generous donations from local businesses and associations, some fundraisers. I want to thank all of you board members for participating one way or the other in our last Love Affair Ball, and for your efforts over the years in participation of the fair and to help the fair. Our little fair is, Troy calls it the best little fair in Amador County. I mean, in the state. Yeah. We are recognized, and Richard can vouch for this. We're recognized by our peers as being one of the top fairs, not only small fairs, but one of the top fairs in innovation and management techniques and just the way the fairgrounds looks. By our peers at the Western Fairs Convention, which is held every year. That's all the fairs in the Western U.S. and Canada. And Little Amador County walks away every year with achievement awards, with plaques. Our poster, which is done by Rand Huggett, art teacher at Amador, retired, is consistently in the top 5 or 3, and has actually won competitions against people like Cal Expo, Calgary Stampede, Washington State Fair. I mean, Amador County is recognized. When you go to some of the meetings and stuff, and they say, where are you from? Amador County. Oh, yeah, I've heard of you guys before. So the Fair Board and the Foundation Board, the staff, they work diligently and tirelessly to keep Amador County, our fair, at the top of the list and being recognized. And that's what the foundation was created for, to help assist that. With the lack of funding from the state, maintenance was going down, the facilities were beginning to deteriorate, so we needed someone to step up. And thanks to people like Supervisor Crew and Stan Lukowitz and many of the people we can name, formed the foundation, and over the years now has been able to do a lot of projects and bring the fairgrounds back up to a point where it is today. And there still are a lot of projects to do, but again, thank you all for your consideration of this proposal, and look forward to seeing you at the fair. Thank you.
Hey, Sarah, some of the board members don't have any idea about the history, your history, but how long were you on the fair board?
I was on the board 36 years. And
I think it's pretty noteworthy that you were the WFA, Western Fair Association president for one of those years. So.
Correct, yes. Along with Troy Amador County's been well represented. Ralph Clark was a past president, Hall of Famer, and we've had several people on the WFA board.
Susie Clark, too.
Yes, and Susie, correct, yes. So Amador County's been...
Suzanne Clark, I guess.
Suzanne, that's correct. Amador County's been well represented in the industry.
Add to that, WFA Hall of Fame, WFA past president, director emeritus.
Thank you.
Thank you. Titles, sir.
I'd like to introduce Mike Boitano.
Morning, Michael.
Morning, Madam Chairman.
Morning.
Board members. 3 years ago when I retired, I didn't think I'd be back up here, but I guess I am now. I am the current president of the Amador County Fair Board. Everything that's been said here today, thank God for the foundation. Thank God for the participation we have from the public, the county, to keep our fair going for what it is. As some of you know, I deal a lot with the livestock end of things down at the fair and stuff. We have a junior livestock auction that's been running up somewhere to $400,000 to $600,000 a year on 250 lots. That's really, really fantastic. And that's all due to the people that support the fair. And the barn that we're talking about for the electrical is a part of that. We're growing with the heifer project, especially. Again, just life experiences for these kids to pick out an animal, bring it through, breed it, and provide it to the industry as a replacement heifer is knowledge of, and like everybody said, it's just really taken off. What I would really like to talk about today, though, is the contributions of the Simmons family. For you that don't know, Chuck Simmons was a board member for many years. His dedication to the fair, his family's dedication to the fair is unspeakable. I mean, you can't just say how much time he spent, and Chuck's a lot like I am, was a hands-on guy. I mean, you know, we get over there dirty in a ditch, you know, he'd grab a shovel and keep right on going. One year he smashed his hand in a accident with the forklift, went down, got it bandaged back up and everything like that. Within 5 hours, he's back working around the fairground with his hand up in the air. A better person you will never find any place, and it just represents the great people that we have here in the county. You know, and his wife Kathy, to put up with Chuck is pretty remarkable in itself too, and she is here today. But I would just like to really see this project get done, get these wires underground where they belong, so we don't have to dig up the whole thing again in another year or two when we want to expand out and back. And it really brings recognition to a family and to a person that we as a board and anybody that has anything to do with the fair will realize is long overdue and should be well received. So what you can do, we appreciate it. What you have done already, we doubly appreciate. You know, and to help us out would be great. Thank you much for your time. Thank you for your support.
Jill Curran, Fair Foundation Board Director and the advisor to the Replacement Heifer Project during Fair. I'm in a happier place at this moment than I was earlier this morning. I just wanted to say quickly that, again, the Replacement Heifer Project, this building is going to host that event during Fair. So timing is kind of critical because the fair is just around the corner. The barn's coming in about 3 weeks. And the Replacement Heifer Project, which was Chuck's wish to get going at the fair, this will be our 5th year. We started the first year with 6 heifers. This year we have 29. To date, we have raised $210,000 for the kids selling their heifers, that money going to their college education. So it's really been successful.
Okay, so return on investment, we grow leaders out there. They're going to come back and go to work into your community. We also do a lot of events out there. We are looking to get a high school rodeo district out there. We'll have like 9 or 10 high school rodeos out there, heads and beds, cash in the community, all of this out-of-county money coming in to support and provide a return on your investment.
No, I think what you said is true, but it's not just leaders that the fair produces out of the kids. It also, I think it gives kids, it grounds them. My kids participated in 4-H for quite a while, and the kids seem happy. They get, well, for lack of a better term, they get, whether it's goat, chicken, horse, cow, pig, lamb, they get brown matter on them, and I think it kind of gets kids a touch of reality, and I think it's really a good program, and kids love it, and you see it gives them kind of a focus, and I think it's 4-H is, and the fair is it's a wonderful thing. It really helps our young kids a lot, and kind of like a wake-up call.
Yeah. I like to think that the 4-H FFA Grange and the fair, we're more than just partners. We're really a marriage. We're all part of the same whole out here and trying to accomplish the same thing, and each part has their own contribution. So it's something that's been around for a very, very long time, and something that we enjoy and benefit from here at the Amador County. Any questions?
I have questions about your budget sheet.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so the items here are just items that you get revenue. Organizations that you get revenue from. Is that? It says promotion.
That's what Chuck Eiley put together.
Oh, did you put that together, Chuck? The chart at the very end of the. It says actual 16, 17.
Yes, that was from Karen as far as what we've done with the TOT.
Okay.
Yes.
But it's got other. So this is the county's revenue?
Yes.
Okay.
That's our
That's
our
what we're
promotions
spending
budget.
it on.
There's a lot of confusion, I think, out there as far as what TOT is. TOT is a general tax.
Right.
It has not been passed with the 66% required in order to make it a dedicated tax. So it's a general tax. It goes in the general fund. The board is free to use it for any general fund purpose.
Okay.
But I'd like to make a proposal if that, this is a one-time request, I guess, right? At least for this year.
Well, we've been reluctant. I can tell you that the Amador County Fair Board of Directors has not wanted to come to the county supervisors just because we know that there's so many demands on the monies that you guys have available. And we have purposely stayed back. And we're back in the state's budget beginning 2019. What that's going to look like, we don't know. But we are very conscious of our partners, tourism, chamber, all the other people that look to you guys for support. And we don't want to hinder any of the good works that they're doing. We need those good partners. So.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate everything that the fair does. And it kind of, when I was on the fair board, we never looked at going to the county. This is kind of to me, I look at it as a one-time special circumstance where you're trying to get a major project done and you've run out of places to look. So I would, if it was me, I would just soon fund the $130,000 electrical project and look to take it either out of reserves or out of general fund. That's just as a one-time expenditure.
So it was suggested that we might wait on voting on this issue until our budget workshop?
That was a suggestion, but they need the money.
Right, I don't think
Prior
we
to that,
realize
too.
the time. Is there any, we don't spend all the TOT every year, Chuck?
Oh, we do, yes.
We do. We
Yes.
spend it down,
It's-
okay.
It's not reserved in the
I guess
fund.
that was a question
Yeah.
more than a
The-
But it's in the general fund, and that's why I'd like to take it out of the general fund, because we utilize whatever portion of the TOT that isn't put into other areas for our county budget.
Madam
Correct.
Chair, you can probably guess how I feel about this.
You don't like the fair, I know that.
Yeah.
I have a question
I agree
about
with Richard.
the $10,000 marketing plan. What's that about?
Right. So 40% of the people who attend the fair, who buy tickets online, are out-of-county people. So we have an extensive, about a $40,000 budget, advertising budget for that, and that includes our website and all the other social media, all that stuff, newsprint, that. As well as we have discovered, we knew this for way before I came to the Amador County Fair, that if we're going to be successful, we need to have a year-round facility. We need to have year-round business going on out there. And we've really worked hard, tried a lot of different things, ranch rodeos, Highland games, a lot of that to try to get some traction out there, to get things going, and that's advertising. And my whole point of view is really we need to be looking for out-of-county money, bring out-of-county money into Amador and spend it. So that's what I need some help with, is marketing this facility, marketing the events that we've got going, and trying to attract these bigger events that are heads and beds.
So if we approve this, Chuck, then this would be the first time we're putting money to the county fair?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
At least since I've been here.
Probably for the past 80 years, I don't know.
I mean, my feeling is if you need 30,000, the major project to get the barn built, that I'd like us to look at funding. If you need 10,000 for marketing, I'll start it off with 500. But go out to individuals for that. So,
if we were to fund this, it would require a 4/5 vote as well.
I guess the question I'd have too, you're talking about the 500. You're probably talking discretionary funds, or
I'll write a check personally for it.
yeah. What I was looking at maybe is if all the board members would be willing to contribute maybe 1,000 from their discretionary funds.
I'm not gonna do that. I've got my discretionary fund committed to other things. I'll write a personal check, but that our discretionary funds are not that much to begin with.
I don't know that I have $1,000 left in mine, so. Yeah.
Okay, forget that then.
Not like the old day. Our discretionary funds used to be 15,000. Now they're how much, Chuck? 4,000, 5,000 a year. 5,000.
It's combined now. It's 4,000 plus the travel fund, which ends up being about 5,600.
Goes pretty fast when you're, like you said, we get a lot of requests.
But I'd do that too, Rick. I'd write a personal check for 1,000.
All right, I'll do 1,000 then if you push it.
You up the ante.
Oh,
Okay,
did I?
so.
Oh, sorry.
So do you have a motion then as far as the 30,000?
Well, Chuck, what would be the source? You out of reserves or out of?
Comes out of the
Out of
general.
contingencies, yeah.
This would have to be a 4/5 vote.
Would have to be a 4/5 vote.
So I would move that we take 30,000 out of contingency to give to the Amador County Fair for utilization of them on their electrical project towards completion of the barn project.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a public comment here. I need you to come up.
The 30,000 request for this project would be to the Fair Foundation.
Okay.
The 10,000 request would be to the fair itself.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
change my motion to the Fair Foundation then.
Under discussion, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't our sales tax look like it's having a bump as far as property tax, sales tax looking a little better?
It is. We're seeing a bump this year. So 18-19 will be a better year than 17-18.
And I wonder if we won't be seeing more TOT also, possibly.
There will definitely be some more TOT. We are projecting an increase there.
And we could look at that during our budget discussions. We could look at any overage projected and where that's going to be directed.
That's what I was thinking. But, we do have that CalPERS thing coming too. It's
Okay, we have a motion. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think we all voted aye. So that was 4/5. Actually, that was 5/5.
5/5.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, let's see here.
welcome.
Welcome. All right. Item
Before
5.
everybody leaves, I would encourage those directors that might have any spare change in their discretionary funds to direct it towards the fair.
Sure.
Crickets down there.
Okay, let's do item 5G, which is Amador County Recreation Agency, discussion and possible action relative to approval of the third amended and restated Joint Powers Authority Agreement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Carolyn Fergolia, ACRA Executive Director.
And Wayne Garibaldi, current chair of ACRA.
So we're here to present the third amendment to the ACRA JPA agreement. So I just wanted to put a little history out there for you. In 2003, which is 15 years ago, the county and the cities made an agreement with each other to form a park and recreation agency, which became ACRA. The JPA was an agreement between the county, the cities, and the school district, and a couple other entities. The JPA was not then, and I personally feel that it is still not an agreement with an entity known as ACRA. It is an agreement between the partnership that was formed 15 years ago. ACRA has been functioning under this old JPA agreement since 2003. As this is the third amendment, obviously there has been two other amendments over the course of the last 15 years. These two amendments had more to do with the change of membership jurisdiction than with an overhaul of the original document. The Board of Directors of the Amador County Recreation Agency, along with their Technical Advisory Committee, which is composed of city managers and the county CAO, are presenting to you their proposed much-needed overhaul. You can see from my memo that there are 6 items we identified as important for each of the members to make note of, along with the County Council's addition of Article 9, Liability, Indemnification, and Insurance. At the pleasure of the board, we will discuss any of these points or any sections of the document. However, I would like to address the membership fees, which was brought up in a weekly supervisors report on the radio. 15 years ago, at its formation, there was a handshake type understanding between the county and the cities to finance this new agency. At some point, each agreed to pay $5 per person residing within their respective jurisdictions. I believe that for the majority of those 15 years, the county honored the $5 per population promise that it made to its partners. The recession hit, things changed, but during the last 2 fiscal years, the county has again paid that amount. This amendment is not requiring a $1 increase in fees. It is simply stating the agreement that was reached between the county and the cities at the time that ACRA was formed 15 years ago. I would also like to note before moving to discussion that this document, that from my experience in working with the city managers, is that they are very supportive of ACRA and they see a real value that ACRA provides their community. And so now if you'd like to move on to discussing the third amendment and any changes that you want to address.
One thing I'd like to touch on is, as far as you made note that the county had not paid their complete membership for a number of years. I think it should be noted, I believe the county has provided office space at no expense to ACRA for a number of years. I think there's been probably county council and some other departments have been made available to ACRA for a number of years.
General Services Administration.
So I guess you could say we weren't paying our fees, but maybe we were paying above and beyond our fees for a lot of years.
I think some of the cities had reduced fees too, and one city was not paying at all.
There is no, I've been on the ACRA board probably the longest of the people that have sat there, and over the course of the years, almost every city has shorted it sometimes, and the county as well. So there's no accusation there or anything, and the county does shoulder the lion's share of some of the administrative components like space and county council is greatly appreciated, because I think we'd be gone if we had to, hire our own council. But what the organization, as I said, started out at $5 a head 15 years ago, and really we haven't, pushed any envelopes of increasing that. But we have reached a point, I think, amongst the organization where we actually need $5 a head cash from all the members. So,
What does the school district contribute?
Take that one.
Sure.
Okay. The school district does not contribute any dollars, but what they do contribute, which is extremely valuable to ACRA, is use of their ball fields and courts at essentially no cost, and they do give us priority over other. So it's school functions first, ACRA second in that. And so, and the discussions that have occurred in the past with the school district is that really all of us, the cities and the county that are paying the $5 a head to charge the school $5 a head, would be kind of double charging, because it's the same people twice that way. And frankly, my personal feeling is that if we came and asked the school for a monetary fee, they would probably drop. And we can't afford to have them. So it's kind of, they have a carve out that says they're the only non-paying member. We've eliminated two of the districts that were out there, Lake Comanche and Volcano District. There was no controversy. They were not great participants, and we feel that they're adequately represented by the county representatives that are on there. So, but we're now down to all paying members with the exception of the school district. We feel that they do contribute in like kind, and that works okay for us.
I guess I'm kind of like Brian. I would like some recognition of the pro bono things, not just legal services from our county council, but contractual services and other services from our general services administration, as well as space. So there's a number of areas that are much like the school district. If you add them up, it's going to be significant dollars.
It is, and in terms of recognition, I don't think there's any problem in acknowledging and recognizing that. But in terms of having the fee be less for the county than it is for the cities, I think that would send us back to the drawing board and probably open up some discussions about whether, and I'll just tell you my personal feeling that if we can't all of the members agree kind of on a uniform, fair membership fee to keep the thing going, then we should be talking about discussions of disbanding it. Because over my tenure with ACRA, that's probably been the single biggest dissent. Occasionally that comes up about voting, and voting never seems to be a dissent on any subjects. But who's paying and who's not paying, and that has been a big deal. So
I'll be the devil's advocate, though, and county does pro bono on all of those items. School district does pro bono on some items. Should the school district be paying too, then?
Well, it's a question that goes to that original one. Are they a separate member in terms of the per head count? In other words, if all the cities in the county are chipping in $5 per head, we're paying for all of the residents. Why should the school district have to pay? I mean, I'd love to get them to pay. We could certainly use that money, but what we can't afford is to have them jump ship.
I think we need to sit down over a glass of water and talk about this rather than prolong it here.
Perfect. Might even have a glass of something else. Other questions we can answer?
Well,
I think a lot of this is cleanup. It really is trying to actually make it better.
Wayne, I thought, wasn't there an analysis done on how many events or sporting activities were actually held at school ball fields? And it was pretty significant to actually rent those fields. Their in-kind contribution is pretty high.
We really have no other facilities in the county that we can use. 3 years ago, we negotiated a MOU with the school district, and they were very generous in allowing us to use, as Wayne said, second person up, any facilities that they have available. So it's thousands of dollars in contribution. If they were collecting what they normally charge for the rent of the facilities, it would be quite a bit of money.
I'm just saying, if you added up the county's contributions, including our General Services Administration and the assistance on contracts and the assistance on projects, because they do a lot of work. So I don't know.
There's no argument with
kind
that.
of mixed feelings on it. So
You know, one thing I would say, and maybe there's a mix-up along the way, but shows there's a Second Amendment, JPA showing changes, but I didn't receive that. You got a memo that seems to outline them pretty well. So, but it'd be nice to have a track changes to look at.
I thought that
probably
didn't you
predates
see?
Carolyn.
yeah, the Third Amendment changes are in here.
Yeah, the second, it's in there, isn't it?
No, not my packet.
You don't have this document that's the Second Amendment with the changes?
Says it's the second, but it states it's the third.
I can give you my copy if you'd like.
That's it. I got your memo. It's probably okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never received this.
I got it from the memo too, Carolyn.
And I have a question. Your 6 points in your memo or your letter, and point number 2, the JPA is now considered a special district? I don't think so. Greg,
Here,
can you help me?
let me give you the documentation on that.
No, it's not a special district. There are rules about the audit that ACRA has to do, and all that says is, in terms of the audit that they have to prepare, they have to comply with the same audit rules
As
that
a
apply
special
to a
district.
special district.
That's
None of the
different than saying
rules
you are a
related
special
to a
district.
special district apply to ACRA.
Right.
ACRA's a JPA. So
The reason why we felt that it was necessary to actually state that in there is because it's made the makeup of ACRA change. We had to change a lot of the ways that we do business because now the state controller considers us a JPA.
So we don't, ACRA does not consider itself a special district, because that's other types of things that are involved with that. But the state of California views us as that. So we're just kind of acknowledging we're following their rules.
Wayne, on 6.2, the annual inflationary adjustment of fees, says the ACRA board shall review and make recommendations for annual adjustments to increase or decrease the fees based upon inflation and budgetary considerations. I'm assuming they'll make the recommendations to the voting members.
That is correct. If you look at the very bottom of 6.1, it kind of got split there, but
Okay.
it says the memberships will be reviewed annually, may be changed by resolution by ACRA board, but only implemented upon approval of each member jurisdiction. We knew we would all not want to be written into something that we were bound for. We made sure we took that out. There was no disagreement in the ACRA board that each member has to approve any increases that would come before it.
You know, one thing I wondered just a little bit about, you got 8 directors, and always want to have an odd number if possible.
We do have 8 directors since Volcano has pulled out.
Yeah.
Of course, they represent the cities and 2 county members and then the school board.
Don't think we want to increase it.
No.
And it would be difficult to decrease it.
Are all the member entities paying their fees now?
Yes, in full.
And we expect that again, the way this is set up in terms of the agreement, so maybe that makes everybody feel comfortable, we're codifying that the fee is $5, okay? If a member pays less than that fee or doesn't pay, it would then come back to the ACRA board, at which point they would hold a hearing and determine whether to continue with that member or not. Okay, and I would be the first one to say that if, the county, I tell people out in the public consistently that all of the cities combined together and the county are about semi-equal. They're not exactly equal, but so obviously the county is a half contributor in those membership fees. So ACRA might be able to limp along if one of the cities dropped out of the thing. We would not be able to continue if the county did. But you always have that ability to say, hey, we're going to terminate our membership.
So again, I'm sorry, I want to go back to the issue about special district. This does just say that as far as financial records, you are treated as if you were a special district. It does not say the JPA is a special district.
The only section I saw in there said, whereas the state of California defined joint power authorities formed under government code as special districts pursuant to the government code. So we're not asserting that, where I think we're just trying to recognize that the state of California is seeing ACRA that way.
As it pertains to financial.
I mean, do you feel that you want to change the wording a little bit in that section?
I don't think it's an issue because it's not in the JPA. I just wanted you to be aware, and I sent you an email, that you're not a special district.
Right.
You still have to follow all the rules that apply to a JPA, except when you're doing your audit, and your auditor will know that.
We have also reports and such that we have to do, and because of this.
This is not a new law.
I realize.
This has been this way.
But the reason why the auditor decided that they couldn't do our payroll anymore was because they determined that we were, according to the county, to the state auditor or the controller, a special district. And so therefore we were told that we were to do our own reports and that they would no longer do our payroll and that sort of thing. So it changed the way ACRA did business, and it changed some of the decisions that we had to make, which is why we felt it should at least be acknowledged in the JPA that the state of California considers special district or JPAs as special districts.
But again, only in terms of the audit you're required to do. Period.
So do you want the language changed in that second paragraph?
Well, is it in the actual JPA document?
It's the second paragraph of the Third Amendment.
Madam Chair, it's in the memo.
Yes,
it's
in
a
the
reference
memo.
in the memo. It doesn't change the JPA. It's not a substantive provision in the JPA.
Okay.
I just was.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't think it needs to be a big issue.
Okay.
That only applies to your audit and your financial issues, not anything else.
Exactly. We're aware of that.
Right.
That's not what
Okay.
it says in the memo. So that's why I think
Oh, in the memo. That's where the problem is.
That's not why
Instead
it's being pointed
okay.
out.
That's
All right.
why I brought it up.
Okay.
So.
And we
Okay.
appreciate, this agreement's been so far approved by Plymouth and Jackson, so every time we make a change to it, we need to trot back to everybody, so not changing it.
It's been a while since I was on the ACRA board. ACRA used to do the maintenance of the parks. Do they still do the maintenance of the parks?
Yes. We have a contract with the county to maintain Fiddletown
How many parks are there? 3?
we have 5 total that we maintain. So ACRA owns 2, and then we have the contract with the county to maintain Fiddletown and Pioneer. And then somehow, some agreement that Tracy had with the grants, we'd also maintain River Pines.
Other board questions? Any public comments, questions?
What is the county paying now, $4? $4
Are we paying
per
4 now?
capita?
Yeah, that's
No,
good.
we're at 5.
We're at 5. We'll
5
get back
for
up.
the last 2 fiscal years.
When did we go back? We reduced it to 4 for a while.
We did, and I believe it was this past fiscal year. From the beginning, we were at 5, and the year before that, we went to 5 halfway and went back and paid retroactively.
Okay. Any other questions about the Third Amendment to the JPA? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I got, just for clarification, so the Third Amendment, that's going to be changed to reflect that it's not a special district. So if we adopt anything by resolution, I don't want to adopt something that's not correct.
I didn't see any changes to the JPA itself that started calling it a special district. It's just in the memo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the third. Powers.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry. It is there in the whereases. I don't think that second whereas is accurate.
Oh, there you go, as special districts now.
So as I said, is there some language that I really feel that it should be acknowledged that now we have to follow the rules of the state regarding special districts, because again, it changes a lot of what we do. So is there some language that we could change in that third amendment that would make it, the state controller now considers us a special district, something along those lines?
Well, when I looked at that statute, it shows when it was amended, and it hasn't been changed any time recently. So I assume in the past your audits were done through the county. I don't know. Have you done?
The county did the accounting. Everything, they were warrant checks and everything passed through the county.
And so the county has said, since you're treated under your audit rules as a special district, we can't do your audit any longer.
From what I understand, they've asked all special districts or to no longer do their own payroll and that sort of thing, and do their own reports.
I don't think my recommendation would be not to have that paragraph. I think it's confusing.
Well, if that's not in there, then under the memo, it seems like you should be able to still get your accounting done through the county auditor. I understand you're in a catch-22 here because of Tacey's interpretation that you're an outside agency.
Well, they are a separate agency. They're a joint powers authority, and when the state comes up with the rules about audits and the way they do their accounting, they just say JPAs will use these rules that apply to special districts. That's, in my review, is the only reference to calling a JPA a special district, and it doesn't have anything to do with how you're formed, how you have to interact with other entities. It just has to do with this financial aspect. And so I just don't think it's accurate to say the state treats you like a special district in a broad sense, because they don't. And
So what if we just eliminated that whereas?
yes,
That
that would
paragraph?
be my recommendation.
That second paragraph, the second whereas.
I think we're fine. We'll have to go back around, but that's
page
probably,
69?
it doesn't seem to restrict anything in there.
No.
You know, I think some of these things, whether you mention them or not mention them, depends upon future litigation that you have no idea what it will be. You know, I know at last Jackson City Council, they had a JPA for that Sierra group, and they didn't have language in there that did that anyway. So I see nothing in that striking that out of there changes.
Paragraph, first whereas. It's the first whereas, okay.
So you would like to remove that paragraph?
Yeah, that whereas.
Whereas.
It's actually the first whereas.
Oh, the first word.
First whereas, okay.
Second paragraph, first whereas.
Okay, we can do
And
that.
while ACRA does the minor maintenance of parks, I'd like it recognized too that the county does the major maintenance.
Correct. I mean, ACRA, as it's currently set up, can only do kind of daily kinds of operational things for any of the facilities that it's involved with. Capital expenditures always come back to the jurisdiction where the facility is located. Majority of things that ACRA does are located in the unincorporated areas. So you're absolutely right.
Now we got figured out where our whereases are where? We got
We've got it. The first whereas in the second paragraph. There we go. Okay, other questions, comments? Any public questions, comments? Okay. I will entertain a motion. Or did, actually, Frank already did it.
He was starting on
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I make a motion to approve this third amendment and restated joint powers authority agreement with the recommended change of removing the first paragraph with the first whereas.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Also, do we need to add in there, I think there's also a resolution too? We got to approve, don't we? Somewhere I saw a resolution.
I thought I said to restate.
Would that cover it, Greg? Greg, do we have to also approve a resolution or just a Joint Powers Authority Agreement?
I don't believe the resolution is necessary, but there's no problem approving it through the resolution.
All right, I'll make a motion, amend my motion to approve the resolution to. That's sufficient? Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, we need to vote on that again?
Please, let's do it quickly.
Yes, I know. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. All right. We'll go to items, no. Oh, I'm sorry. Item 5H, proposed project list discussion and project implementation update. Jared.
Morning again.
Good morning.
Jared Ranking, the Public Works. So the item we have here, it's a two-part item. First portion is the fiscal year 17-18 SB1, the Senate Bill 1, which is the road maintenance money that we've been receiving this year. The implementation of the projects that were approved last summer. So we'll go through that, and then we'll discuss a little bit where we're headed for fiscal year 18-19 for SB1, and go through some of the points. So there's really no requested action today or recommendation, but if you have any direction at the end of the discussion, please feel free to let me know.
Okay.
So in terms of the projects for fiscal year 17-18, last summer, there was a group, four categories of projects that were presented to the board for approval. I attached the actual list that the past director had submitted to the CTC so you could see the individual projects. But generally, the projects were dig outs on county roads. There was some striping on county roads, culvert replacement projects, and we have a crack filling and sealing operation that's going to be happening. So this current status is today, the board on the consent agenda approved the plans and specifications for the county road dig outs project, which is 41 locations on 5 county roads. It includes Clinton, Fiddletown, Meadow, Comanche, and Sutter Creek Road. So that's going to be going out to bid here next week, and we'll hope to get that underway, I'm thinking by June. So that'll be the first major project. It's $300,000 we're estimating, which is a good amount of money. We'll see how the bids turn up. But so that's the county road dig outs.
Jared, can you define what a dig out project is?
Sure. So there's two types of dig outs. When you hear people talking about them, it's like I said, there's two ways you could do it. There is replacement of asphalt only, and then there's a full dig out, which is replacing the asphalt and the base material. So depending on the type of failure you have, it may just be appropriate just to replace the asphalt. If you have just cracking going on the top of the road, then and you don't see any movement or any settling, then you really probably are just looking at replacing the asphalt only. Now, if you're on the roads and you see dips forming, or if you're driving over it during a rainstorm and you see white stuff coming up, it usually means that there's also base failure. So in that case, you would do asphalt and base replacement. So with the, is that good enough, Chuck? Okay. So with our dig outs project, there's a handful of full depth repairs. There's a couple on Fiddletown Road, and then the majority of the rest of them are just, for now, replacement of the asphalt only. If we get into it and it turns out we need to replace some base at some of these locations, we will do that during construction, but we'll deal with that later. So for the striping, we're currently planned 71 miles of road that we're going to be starting on this summer. It's actually, we're putting out a 4-year program, and we'll talk about this more on the 18-19. We want to get basically all county roads restriped over 4 years. There may be some duplicate striping we might do for roads that get plowed, so that could be included. The funding for SB1 this year, it's been a little bit of a scramble. The estimates that initially came in estimated Amador County share of the RMRA funding a little over about $644,000. It kind of varies a little bit depending on which estimate sheet you're looking at. We only started receiving those funds in January. That's when we started getting our disbursements. Since then, we've been getting notified by CSAC in terms of updates as to how those revenues are coming in. But unfortunately, their original estimates they did last summer were a little bit high. They haven't told us really why. They said they're kind of looking into it. But with that, they said for Amador County, it looks like our total expected for this fiscal year is considerably less, to be about I think $420,000 by the time we get our last disbursement in July. So they've also recommended with that we review our project list from last year and use discretion as to what projects we may move forward with or delay, et cetera. So for this year, because we didn't get the full amount, we're going to move the culvert replacement project to next fiscal year. It's 7 culverts. They're not, should be able to, even if we do them at the end of the summer, that could be a possibility. So heeding their advice, we're reducing the scope of the overall project list from last year. So,
a question. Didn't we also take some money from the excess tax loss reserve to go towards roads? So some of these projects, even if you remove them from this list, they could still be funded, I would think, through that additional funds we put towards roads.
Talking about the MOE, the maintenance effort funds from the county?
I don't think we put those towards maintenance efforts. Like,
it's for next fiscal year.
Is it next fiscal year? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had 2 culvert failures already. One on Clinton Road, I guess, that was about $30,000, and the other one out at Cook Road. So where did that money come from?
My understanding that came out of just our reserves or gas tax. I'd have to talk to our accounting to see exactly where we accounted for it, but those would be the only 2 spots. I'm not exactly sure what fund it got charged to.
Does Public Works carry a reserve on that? Or
well, they used to. They've burned through it. It's just not there. He just took it out of operating expenses is what they're saying.
That's what I'm concerned about. We've had 2 unanticipated culvert failures. And I realize you don't have a lot of money to work with, so we're just going to ride it out for 1 more year.
Well, so Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm not sure how the bids are going to come in this spring. There's going to be a lot of work out there, so even though we like to do those culvert replacements, we could look at maybe still doing a couple, but I don't want to get in a situation where we're,
paying through the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the the culverts that were slated for repair this year, I believe there was 2 on Martin Lane, and one on Stony Creek, and a couple more. I went out and looked at them all, and I'm not expecting, at least for the ones that were identified, I'm not expecting any major failures like the Clinton Road. That's a huge culvert. Or, Cook Road, I didn't see any that type of situation there. So we'll get them out as soon as we can. But I just didn't want to get, in a situation where we didn't have enough money to pay for the contracts that we let out. So
One thing we should probably look at too is it's a fairly major road, is Latrobe Road. Either the culvert's not big enough or it needs another culvert, but right before the river where we've had those major washouts in there's something going on there that needs to be looked at because it's kind of expensive.
that was one of the projects. That was going to be a new culvert that was going to be put in there.
Okay, that is it then, okay.
Yeah, that was it. It's right there by the tree. There that is, yeah.
I'd like to spend the majority of the money in the dig outs. That's why I like your 4-year schedule on restriping. That nice to have the roads restriped, but I came down 88 on Sunday, and Caltrans hasn't restriped a lot of that, and it's a lot worse than our roads, and it's kind of difficult to drive on the state highway sometimes without lines.
Yeah. No, a lot of the county roads, they need to be restriped. A lot of them, you just can't even see them anymore. So yeah, we need to get on that and make sure we have a continual a program there. So.
And it's really on Meadow Road when you turn off to go to Mace Meadows. You can't see where the turn lanes are. You can't see anything. Really bad.
Actually, I did speak to Aaron before he left, and Taboo Road has one little section right by, I think it's Merrimack. It's near the S turns.
Yeah.
Somebody from the county actually put like reflective tape out there in a creative way because cars were going over the lines and had a number of complaints. But the only problem with that is it's almost like a dotted line, so some people think it's actually passing, and it's also a dangerous place to pass. So
I still agree with the 4-year striping because what I see is most of the time people are crossing the road to avoid the holes in the road.
Well, that sometimes causes people to veer over into the other oncoming car's lane, and then unfortunately we don't have the shoulders often for them to avert that. So
I can tell you there's one spot on Sutter Island Road where I'm routinely going to cross, and it's not a good place to do it, but I'm routinely going to go on the other lane rather than keep getting my car hammered on the right side by the hole.
Well, yeah, if it's clear and there's no other car there, then.
Well,
no, it's just really in that S turn on Taboo.
Something you may want to consider as far as the striping, I don't know if it'd be economically prudent, but like some of these intersections, what I've noticed where you're coming off one road onto another, like if you're coming down Upper Ridge Road and you hit Lower Ridge Road, if you just put some reflectors out, I think people can know, just a few. Say, hey, this is where that lane starts, the turn lane starts, that's where that lane is. I've noticed a number of people on that they're kind of getting in the wrong lane.
How about the markers in the ground?
Where you're coming down like Upper Ridge Road, hitting Lower Ridge Road. There's like where's the eastbound, where's the westbound, where's the turn lane. It's pretty tough there, and there's a lot of traffic on that road. Maybe that's something. Could you look at some of these roads? Maybe you don't stripe the whole road, but just where you get where traffic's really meeting one another, merging, turning. Maybe that's something you could look at.
Okay, and this agenda item is the board needs to give you direction as far as the proposed project list.
Well, it was like I said, the first part just giving you guys an update of what we're doing for this year. So the second part is we'll jump right into the 18-19. So,
But let's talk about what we need from this before we start talking about this. We do need to turn in the approved list by the end of the month.
yeah, so the point of the discussion is to prepare for the next Board of Supervisors meeting. So what every year, new guidelines, the CDC needs local jurisdictions to submit their project list by May 1st. That's their new rule. And with that, Public Works just like last year, we can't just go and submit a list. It has to be approved by resolution by the board.
I asked you on the original estimate was 644, almost 644,500. So, I mean, the estimate missed the mark by about $220,000. If that's the case this next year, then you're talking about a lot more dollars than about 200,000. 1.66 is estimated.
That's right.
How'd they miss the mark by so much? Just the gas tax just didn't come in?
Yeah, I guess I haven't. There wasn't a clear explanation in any of the emails that I got from CSAC on the updates.
I'll be asking for it because I'd like to know. It's just something that is clearly unanticipated that people are just not driving as much.
Unless I missed it in the document. I mean, it could be, they've been, maybe it's a way that they're just administering their funds. Maybe it could be sent more to the state than the locals. Who knows? But I'm not sure.
And does this include the repayment too, the loan repayment?
Yeah,
and all of that?
Yeah. There was two components. It was the SB1. It was the RMRA and the loan repayment.
What we will do is, after we talk here and Jerry gets some direction, we're bringing back the entire Public Works budget to do just a review, a mini workshop on just the Public Works budget for 18-19 in 2 weeks, and along with final approval of the SB1 projects. That's what we want.
Question on that. We have to show them the projects we're looking at. We don't have to meet their amount of money that's available to say these are projects we'd like to do. At some point, we can pick and choose between those that we put in that list.
You can change priorities, yes. What we wanted to make sure last year when we did this was we thought we were getting $600,000. We wanted to make sure we had $1 million just in case the projects came in under budget, which obviously didn't happen, but that way we don't have to go back and get more projects approved. We've got enough projects approved to spend all the money.
Chuck, did you ever get any more correspondence from CEO Bindorf from Yuba County on possible combining of future years funds for use?
It is. The question's been asked actually by a couple of folks as to whether or not we could fund in advance future years SB1 money, because then if we were to do that, and assuming we were getting $2 million a year, which is what their ultimate projection is, and we bound 5 years together, we could bid $10 million worth of work, which would give us a lot more buying power. You get the economies of scale would be better. So
buying power, but the other thought was you're avoiding that deferred maintenance, which just continues to rise every year.
All of that, yes. The put together. So there would be an advantage to doing that. But the concern is that there's nothing that explicitly states that you can, and nothing that explicitly states that you cannot. So they're trying to get an interpretation, and until that comes out, nobody's going to go forward with it. But the question's been asked formally, and they're working on an answer.
All right.
So with that next year, we're looking at a pretty big increase in expected funding. It could be 1.6, but it's more 1.6 million, but it's likely going to be less. So right now we're looking at kind of the same program we're doing this year, but with I think on the staff report I put, we're looking at instead of 40 dig outs, we're going to be looking at about 100. I included the list of roads that that we've identified that we're going to be evaluating over the next week so we can get them to you guys for the next meeting.
Okay.
But it should be okay, yeah.
Also, I'm sure you and I have talked about it, but the Air Board has told us we can't use our asphalt grinder, which digs out the asphalt to put in the dig outs. Are you working on trying to acquire funding from the Air Board and possibly a new grinder, because we're going to need it?
Yeah, so along those lines, we've asked Jim Cardew what the status is of his grant funds at the Air District. He says he needs a little more time to figure that out, but yes, we have approached him about furnishing grant funds for a zipper. If not, we've also requested that GSA put it in their budget, a heavy equipment fund, just in case we can't get the grant funds. I mean, one of the goals I like to do, and same with our road maintenance staff, is in order to potentially save cost of road maintenance, is have our guys do a little bit more work. So yes, getting the zipper would be a great tool, so we can have them do dig outs.
We have a zipper, and there's nothing,
we just can't
nothing
use it.
wrong with it.
We just
other than
can't
the
use
Air Board
it.
says we can't use it.
We can't use it, so
very
it's not
frustrating.
Yeah, we can't use it, so it's not there.
Is that because it just generates dust? Because it.
I'm not positive in the exact requirements.
No, the reason we can't use a zipper is because they're saying the motor.
It's
what is
a
it, like
motor
a
issue.
Oh, is it?
It's like a 1995, probably a 2000, something like that.
It just doesn't meet their
Fog
Air.
emission
air
requirements.
requirements.
Oh, and it's a low use, it's a low hour usage machine, and it's kind of ridiculous, but the
Okay.
state says.
So
Hey, any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jared.
Jared.
Oh, we do have. Yep.
Gary?
Gary Raynell. I just wanted to also say thanks for the focus on the dig outs, and certainly Supervisors Forrester's comments about, and also for Axis comments about people dodging those bad spots in the roads. I see that regularly. There are places I try to avoid those and cross the line also. So it is an issue, and I really appreciate the focus on that. And Jared's work on adjusting all of this so that we can continue to have some repairs on our roads, badly needed repairs. So thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to say one thing. I think that's very true. It's not just dig outs. Sometimes you have trees that the tree roots will give you a ride. You won't believe. There's one up on Fiddletown Road that Gary's probably well aware of it. It's horrendous. You hit it and
Go flying.
oh yeah, literally.
Okay. All right, let's move on to item 5I, minutes, review and approval, March 13th and March 27th.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you,
page-
Jared.
Page 2, it says, where it says Circuit Court Appeal, and then the second line, it says Circuitry Court. And then on page 7,
Well, actually, on that same spot, Mr. is twice.
and on page 7, under the action consensus, this regarding the Veterans Hall on Buckhorn Ridge Road. It says Mr. Sanders' direction given for him to return after the 3-month pilot program to complete to provide a report. I'd asked for him to come back midway through and let us know how it's going. Maybe we did ask him to come back after 3 months. I know I made the request for him to come back after.
We were only
about
going to do it
midway.
for 3 months, and then he was going to come back. Yes, after that's done.
I'm going to request him to come back midway, because I want to know if there's only 2 people showing up every time, you might as well pull the plug halfway through.
Understand. And yeah, we would do that voluntarily if we were only seeing that kind of response.
I'd like you to keep tabs on that.
I will. First day is tomorrow, so.
Any other changes to the minutes?
Well, yeah, has me down as ill on both the minutes, and I believe I was at both of them. I was sick at one of them, but I felt bad about coming, but felt the need to be there. I think I was present at both sets, both meetings.
I can't keep track of you being recused and being sick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, there was some bad stuff going around this year, last year.
Okay, any other, did you get those, Jennifer? Any other? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Both sets.
Both sets, all
With
right.
changes.
Yes.
There was a misspelling on motion number 1 on the, are we doing both at the same time?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Matter, under the matter, and it was motion number 1 as MATE, light correction.
Jennifer needs page.
Still turn them in. So my motion was to approve both sets of minutes with the corrections
amendment,
as noted, and also any minor revisions that may be made.
Okay. Did I get a second? Oh, yes, you did. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We will go back into, we are finished with regular business. We'll go into closed session for one final item.